The brush questions everybody and every stylist gets wrong. Good morning, all you profitable stylists and all you future profitable stylists out there. Good morning, Bernard.
Good morning. The brush questions. I don't even think I know this topic today. I'm excited.
Because you get it wrong too sometimes.
What is the brush questions people get wrong?
Well, I have a bunch of questions for you. So let's see. Let's test your knowledge. And everybody watching, let's play along.
I'm nervous. I've never been really good with tests, so go ahead.
You're never good with tests. Okay. How many different brushes do you need to style hair?
I got a feeling that there's no one right answer for this. Because I can style some hair pretty good with this brush right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, and I've heard you talk about that before. It helps you understand how wet or dry hair is and separates it with your hand. But how many brushes do you need? I guess it depends on what you're doing, right? If you're doing long, flat, straight hair, big paddle brush works nice. Shorter hair, sometimes a brush with a bit of a curve can help if you're just doing some wave. If you need some real tight, sucked under at the end, a round brush, depending on the size, can round that brush, round it under. But I would say usually two. One for the majority of the drying in the early stages of drying the hair, and then one for that more fine tuning, depending on the curve, the style of what you're trying to do with the style.
Yeah, the finishing, right?
Is two the answer?
Is two the answer? Drum roll.
Is two the answer?
Two is the answer.
Really?
Two is the answer. You're right.
I feel like I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I'm like, well,
Is that your final answer? Do you want to phone a friend?
You talk it through, and then you're like, yeah. Two. I think two is the final answer. Two brushes and a hand.
Two brushes and hands.
What do most people say?
A lot of people think they only need one brush. Some people out there, they don't even use a brush. Some people think they need 3-4 brushes. You know, they think detangling brush is one, a pre-prep brush is a second. They think they need 2 different round brush sizes, depending on how much layering they got going on. And then they think they need a smoothing brush afterwards, like a finishing brush. So it can get complicated real quick. At a minimum, you need something to detangle the hair, to pre-prep it before you start styling it. And then, like you're saying, you need something to finish it. So at a minimum, you should be using 2 brushes. I just love that you
cut and colored and styled, and we used no brushes.
And you use no brushes. I love that you remembered the hand, because so many people forget that their 5 fingers is really the start of everything. You should never blow dry your hair. You should never put a brush to your hair with a blow dryer when it's sopping wet or dripping wet. Right. And, we talk a lot about towel dried and 70% dry, 80% dry, and all these percentages. Most people don't understand that. They just don't. So the best advice I always give everybody when you're trying to figure out if your hair is dry enough or towel dried enough to start putting a blow dryer and brush combo to your hair, run your hands through your hair. If your hand is still wet enough that you need to wipe it off, you need to towel dry it a little bit more, or you need to air dry it a little bit more before you start running the brush through. Yeah. If your hair is too wet and you're pulling the brush through, it's going to rip the elasticity of your hair apart. You're going to snap your hair. So if you run your hands through your hair and you can feel the moisture on your hand, but it's not enough where you have to wipe it off, then you're okay, fine. That's towel dried enough. That's 70, 80%. You start taking the brush with the blow dryer, section your hair, start going at it.
I indirectly get that part done through another process. I train new stylists to shampoo, detangle, towel dry, put a cape on, get them in the primary stylist chair ready for the next service, right? And so I said, listen, you're new. These busier stylists are going to need help. You might be asked to shampoo a client. Well, it's not just shampoo them and then leave them laying in a shampoo bowl. There's a whole process. Hello, follow me. Maybe you ask the stylist what shampoo conditioner you should be using. do you want me to do it fast or you do want me to do it slow? Like how much time do you need? It could be a few things, conditioning treatment, whatever. What does she like? Firm, soft, cold, hot, maybe. But whatever it is, you do a good job. But when you're done there, to me, the judging is, did you soak her whole back? Let's figure this out. Can you hold on to that hose and not spray the whole room, the ceiling, and her face? And at least. And then at most, don't wet their back. And then if you get the color off the neckline, like, are you lifting the head and wiping that color out and rinsing your hand? Or are you just leaving color there and you get it with a towel later? Oh, that drives me crazy. But the part that really is a pet peeve of mine is if I get to the chair, you get them to the chair, somewhere along the way, you got a cape on them, you detangle them, get them ready. And if you're detangling whatever you're using and there's water on the floor, a little puddle, that's what freaks me out. I'm like, did you even use a towel? Did you even use a towel properly at all? Did you dry it? I don't want you, tangling it and matting it, but if you don't use a towel at all, and it's going to be dripping, they feel like they did a little bit of a towel. And then you got this trail from the shampoo bowl all the way to their chair. Yeah. They start detangling, and it's just making a puddle. And then you might even see a blow dryer get turned on while the puddle's being made. And like you're saying, that's like me aiming a blow dryer at the bathtub full of water and saying, I'm just trying to dry out the tub. It ain't ever going to happen. Actually, it will eventually happen.
Eventually it'll happen.
But how freaking long is it going to take to evaporate all the water in the tub? And so, yes, I take it to the extreme so you can mentally remember, burn it into your mind. If there's water on the floor, well, what they do is they just dry up the floor real quick. And I'm like, no, fix the problem. That is a sign. That's a result of the problem. Fix the problem. Dry the hair more with the towel before. And if you start detangling and you're still dripping, it's too much water to ever pick up a blow dryer. Get it more dry. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I get a little angry.
If the client has long hair is anything past the shoulders, okay? Collarbone, shoulders, anything longer than that. If the client has long hair, if they've got thicker hair, coarser hair, more density, if they have more damaged hair, their hair is more porous, it's going to absorb more moisture. It's going to hold more water. Then, you wring them out. Even if you do wring them out and towel dry them, this is something for new stylists, especially when we're training them, they don't understand. They're like, I swear I wrung her hair out at the shampoo bowl. And when we came back here, I don't know where all this water just came from. Well, it's gravity. The top of the hair is going to, all of that water is going to start running down the hair shaft, and it's going to collect at the ends. So you wring them out again at the chair, you turn around to go grab some stuff, you come back, and the ends are already sopping wet again. They're starting to bead up and drip. Yeah, that's all that water running down, gravity down the hair shaft.
So you're right. So you got to think of hair length as a sponge, and you can't just dry hair here and expect it not to get wet again, because it's always trying to equalize between. And so same thing with hair replacement. When we put a hair system on a man or a woman, and it's a lace base, the bottom part of that system, when you turn it over, that's where the hairs are knotted. Some people will dry that and put a tape. But when you dry that, you're drying that, and the hairs that are sticking out on this side, you might be drying the roots of the hair a little bit, but time is working against you now because that water is moving back through into the knots. And so then they're like, why won't this tape stick on the lace? Well, either dry the whole system or work faster. So understanding where and how water moves and works in hair will help you understand a lot of problems that you might be having.
My favorite thing to see is similar to what you're saying. I'll see a stylist to start blow drying around the scalp, all the root area, and they're trying to get that volume pre-built up in there. But then they're ignoring the ends.
And they're moving to the next section and start working on the roots of the neck. We'll work on the ends later.
Next section.
After the roots are wet again.
Well, it's even better is when they're blow drying the hair, they get like this nice volume up here, but then the hair is so heavy on the ends because it's still so wet, and they're pulling, and this sucker is smoking. It's like, that's just moisture evaporating off the head. It's fine. You
Yeah.
know?
What's that stink? Right. So with the hair system, you've got to get the tape on that base before, and that way you're locking out the moisture with the stickiness of the adhesive. With this situation, you've got to start working on the ends before you ever move to another section, right? Because water is weight also, right? Is pulling down that volume you're trying to give. You've hopefully got a product in there, which is also weight, but when it dries hard or sticky or in shape. And so it's trying to help dry in that shape that you're supposed to be trying to give it. And so that's the other challenge with, do you start at the bottom or do you start at the top? You know, you kind of have to start at the bottom, in my opinion, and clip the hair up. But when you drop that next section, that dampness touches the dry. It's hard to kind of keep it off of it. So sometimes you have to work on that next section and you sacrifice a little bit of the last because it touched it real quick. And then sometimes you got to join them together, right? You got to take both sections now and get that curl back in there, dry it, and let it go. And when you drop the next one down, you mess up a little. You always sacrificing a little bit of where you've been to go forward. And you just have to compensate by fixing it up, touching it up. Won't take nearly as long, but it's going to get messed up a little.
Little bit. So now here's a question that I have. Not sure if it's all the same or if everybody calls it a little bit different. A vent brush, a paddle brush, denim brush, curve brush, detangle brush. There's so many different names for it.
And you think they're all the same?
They all do different things, but are they in essence the same thing? I get that. That's my question. Are they in essence the same thing, or are each one's really categorized as separate things? Because each one of them do something a little bit different. So they may be shaped and look similar.
I'm looking around. I have brushes. I don't really have any nearby, but the thing
hold on here.
You got some. The thing I was going to say that comes to mind, I almost started saying it earlier, but I knew we were going deeper, so I decided to wait a little bit. The thing about brushes,
here, like I got 4 different brushes right here, right?
Like that, where I can see the very, like turn them where the brush is sticking up.
Oh,
and I can see the end of the brush. You see what I'm saying?
So here, I got these 2 small ones.
Yeah, go up a little bit. So that they both have pretty flat bottoms. And you notice how even the one in your right hand, I think, has a little more curve to the base of it. This one, the other one's a little concave, actually. But even the curved brush even has curved bristles. And so, although those 2 brushes will do a very similar job, the first thing I think about is how many bristles and how close together they are. Because when there's a lot of bristles closer together, it's when you put the hair is it's going to grab that hair a little bit more, depending on the orientation of the bristles also. You know, if you look at a brush this way, a lot of times the bristles are lined up. And then when you look at it this way, they're offset.
Yeah. So if you look at it this way, they're all lined up with each other, right?
Right. And so
if you turn it this way,
they're kind of checkerboard, I guess you'd call it. Right. So if you brush with a brush this way through the hair, it's going to go through the tangles easier, right? Because the hair is not having to go around those bristles. But sometimes you want a little tension on the hair, so you turn the brush sideways so that when you pull or brush, you're picking up hair, but then you've got brushes with more bristles, so it's even more resistance. It'll grab that hair even more. And so to me, those are, I guess, there's a few more things, but you've got the curve of the base, the curve of the bristles, the amount of bristles on the brush, and then you've got what the bristles are made of, and then you got the tip of the bristle, how scratchy it might be on a person's head compared to
so that's referred to the little, I don't know if you could see it, the little ball points on the top of the pins. So the bristles of a brush are referred to as pins. The little ball tips are caps, because what happens is a lot of companies, they'll take the pad and they'll inject the bristles into the pad, and then they'll cap off the pins. So because the machine stamps it all in and then shaves it off, it like cuts it off. So those edges are kind of sharp. So they cap them off, or they melt the top part of it down a little bit. So this way it's a little more gentle, more softer. If the pin is not part of if the cap is not part of the pin and that pops off, and you'll see that on some of the older style brushes, they'll have the black pins, they'll have the white ball caps on them. And then sometimes those caps fall off. And that's what you're talking about. It can scratch, it causes.
And you've also got natural bristle brushes that don't have caps.
The bristle brushes are like boar bristle. So now you're talking about boar bristle versus synthetic bristle.
Yes.
Or
even a synthetic boar bristle, but compared to vent style brush, and so then that's got a lot more bristles per square inch, even multiple bristles per hole. It's like a little flare of bristles sometimes at different lengths. And I mean, all of that, I don't know all the technical details of reasons. I know you do, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about it. But just from a I don't know, I guess a common sense version of it, I always thought of, I could feel like, oh, more bristles, more pull on the hair. So I can, because I did a lot more styling. I hit my microphone. I did a lot more styling with a brush because they didn't mass produce those smaller flat irons. They were big and ugly, and we didn't use a lot of them. So everybody was going with volume and wave and sometimes curl. So we got really good at really working that brush, spinning that round brush, or just turning, getting the heat just right and the cooling just right to get the lift at the base, and then possibly some wave in the middle or flat and smoothness, and then curl at the end. And, like this lady here, oh, my tripod almost fell over. She got this a little bit of curl here at the end. I mean, more here than she has here, right? And so this is either just cooled better, or maybe I was teaching somebody and they didn't quite get this side. But then you might get more lift at the base and then smoothness here. You've got all these different lengths that you're dealing with. So you're trying to get all of them to lay down. And sometimes you want them to be curled under a little just so they don't flare out. So there's so much to think about while that hair's getting dried. And a boar bristle brush sometimes will grab even more hair. So to me, it's the curve, the amount of bristles, and the softness or firmness of the bristle.
Okay. Well, then if you break that down, the curvature of the pad, when you have it concave like this, it's gonna, I don't know if it's gonna show, but it's gonna collapse in.
Right.
When you're brushing it through the hair, it's gonna collapse in. And when it collapses in, it's gonna, can I do this correctly? It's gonna pull
closer together, huh?
I can't do it right backwards, but yeah, it's gonna pull all the pins in together.
Yeah, I see it.
See that? And then it all spreads apart.
Like so magic.
That's gonna create more tension. That's gonna give you more, like a round brush wrapped around the hair. That's gonna give you more tension. When you don't have a lot of pins, when you don't have a lot of bristles to start with, but you compensating with the pad, that's where the technology comes in. Versus, like you're mentioning about a boar bristle, they just have so many more that naturally by default, it's creating the same amount of pull, the same amount of tension. The difference between a boar bristle and a nylon or a synthetic bristle is that the animal hair, the boar bristle, the cuticle is thicker in comparison to us, our human hair. So by default, the larger size is going to attract and pull on the thinner size, on the smaller size.
Oh,
that's why boar bristles, or referred to as natural bristles, also commonly referred to as, a lot of people like to use that because it'll draw the natural oils, the sebum, the buildup, whatever, and it'll pull it down the hair shaft, And some people believe that it causes less friction, less tension onto the hair. But then other people believe that it causes more friction and more tension because it's a thicker, coarser cuticle rubbing against a thinner, not weaker, but just by default, smaller hair shaft.
I can see both sides. Now that you say it, I think I can articulate each side. So I think more bristles is going to grab and pull more tension on the hair. But then if you hit a knot, each bristle is a little more flexible. So it'll let go. I think the bristle will bend and let go of the knot or tangle more than a firmer synthetic bristle. So that's interesting you say that. Some people say this, some people say that. They're both right depending on what part of the brushing service they're
Isn't
talking
it wild?
Yeah, I see it now.
So now with the synthetic bristles, they're going away from plastics and they're moving more into nylon, the nylon fabric, which is a stronger form of a microfiber. It's a much denser, heavier, thicker version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has more flexibility. It has more heat resistance. It doesn't expand when it heats up. It retains the heat and resists the heat much better. And the slip through the hair is almost no friction when you're brushing through hair. So that works out really nice as well too. Nylon bristles are really highly advised to use. When you have a curved bevel rather than the concave beveled pad, this is going to give you not as much tension because the bristles aren't going to all collapse into each other. So this is going to give you better detangling. Whereas something like this is going to give you better tension for styling and for pulling and for smoothing. So two different brushes, same size, very similar look, completely two different approaches altogether. Can you style with this one? Yeah, you can. Is it going to be as good as this one? This is going to be better in that situation. Can you detangle with this one? You can. Is it going to detangle as good as this one? This is going to be better for that situation, right? So every brush has its place and its purpose altogether. So it works out really nicely.
You'd be a real good politician. You don't say anything's really bad for anything. All of your decisions are good. There's just better ones also.
You know, when it comes to education, I am like that, aren't I? I'm trying to inspire. Go out there and make a mistake and screw up, you know? Yeah. It's fun to make mistakes and then learn from them and figure out how to.
What other questions you have?
So now, okay, then you have your your two-tier brushes.
I didn't turn any lights on. Give me 10 seconds, but I can hear you. Go.
Okay. So then you've got your two-tier brushes, and I know what you're talking about, but I'll explain it. I'll get a little closer to the camera here. There's the bottom tier of the bristles that are shorter, and then there's the second tier of the bristles that are longer. So there's that's what we refer to as a two-tier brush. Some of them are the natural bristle or the boar bristle on the bottom, and then the plastic or the nylon bristles longer. This, for example, is all nylon, and it's just two tiers that way. So speak to that a little bit. What is the benefit of a two-tier brush?
I don't know. I was getting ready to ask you. I never understood that. I know what some manufacturers say. I don't know if I believe it. I think it's like clear color. It's fake. It's fake news.
I hate you. I love you and I hate you all at the same time. You got me so good right there.
Well, I saw you drinking that clear color, and I thought, let me go ahead and mention that you can even drink it, and it does nothing.
Right? You have no idea if I did or I didn't.
I know I do extensions, and I know our paperwork, what it says. I just don't understand it, I guess. Long bristle, short bristle, all in the same brush.
So what happens is when you're going through the hair, the longer bristles are going to hit the hair first. So by default, it's going to start separating. It's going to start detangling and separating, and it's going to start organizing. Well, here, if I hold it, I don't know which way to hold it. If I hold it up this way where they're all in a row lined up, it looks like a cornfield. So it's going to start separating and detangling that hair into all those rows, nice and neat, organized.
Right.
So now, as you're passing it through the length of the hair, the shorter bristles are going to start grabbing any buildup, any sebum, any product, any natural oils onto the scalp. It's any shedded hairs that are loose, especially shedded hairs that are loose. It's going to start grabbing all of those and drawing them away from the scalp. Now, for somebody with natural hair, that's super important to have because you're running The natural oils and the sebum that your scalp produces is natural conditioning for your hair and for your scalp. You're running that through the lengths of your hair. That's just naturally going to help keep the condition maintained, the pH level balanced, the porosity even, the smoothness, the shine, the sheen, the silkiness, however you want to refer to it as. It's going to help keep all of that maintained naturally throughout the length, balanced out. It's going to remove all the loose hairs out of there. So then this way they're not knotting up with everything else and creating a little ball of mess, okay, which is going to lead, if you don't do anything to that, it's going to lead to build up, matting, tangling, you know, all kinds of messes with that. If you're wearing hair extensions specifically and especially, it's going to keep those strands separated from each other so they don't start interlocking side by side to each other and creating a mess and a matting. So all the way around, the two-tier brush is my personal favorite. I favor a two-tier brush above everything.
So just again, logically, what I thought, and it sounds like that's what you're describing, is that with extensions especially, you have more hair on your head. So it's just thicker from the scalp. And if you're reaching deep inside of there with longer bristles, you're detangling further in. I guess it's going to brush the outer edge too, but not as well. But now with the shorter bristles, you've got long bristles going all the way in, and then the shorter bristles are softly detangling, or at least spreading, like you said, taking out debris or spreading oil from the scalp on down. I know you like to call it sebum, but that reminds me of a blonde that lives on the beach. So the long bristles and the short bristles are just detangling or brushing at different levels of thickness, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fine. It works. I don't know if I'd ever invented it. I think it can kind of brush lightly on your head and more firmly. And I just find it a natural bristle brush, or even a synthetic but looks like a natural bristle brush is better than a vent brush in that case, because the bristles, like we were talking about earlier, how one brush can possibly be misrepresented in two ways. The natural bristle, or a bunch of softer bristles without the caps on them, I think is a more gentle let's go if it does hit a tangle situation. So you have to go at it more times to slowly break up a tangle. And I think that's important with hair with any long hair for breakage, but with extensions especially, so that you don't pull the hair out of the head.
So I'll say you this way.
Or break it.
I'll agree with you, and then I'll even take a stance, and I'll still have an opinion on it.
Okay.
Science is fun, and technology has advanced tremendously. So nowadays, if you can get a nylon bristle brush that is tourmaline infused, in my opinion, that works better than a natural bristle. That'll detangle better. That'll give you better tension. That'll smooth the hair out better. It'll just work better all the way around in all cases.
What does the tourmaline do? Is that what I was supposed to ask?
No, you already know what tourmaline does.
Go ahead.
Tourmaline is nature's deodorizer.
You sell the brush, so I know you know way deeper about this.
No, tourmaline is a natural element that exists in nature, and it removes odors.
Yeah.
It creates negative ions, which helps smooth and calm down.
I think that's the more important thing.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable to me at first when I had heard these things were infused in the, I mean, it's mixed in the batch of the, I hate to call it plastic, but when the bristles, when it's just a big vat of plastic, that's when the tourmaline is mixed in. So you can't, I used to think it was like a magic wand they wove over it, and they're like, tourmaline, go into brush, So I always wondered, like, how are you saying it's what, you ran it by, is tourmaline a rock, and you just tapped a rock, and now the brush has tourmaline in it?
You just rub it against every single one when it's going down the production line.
They just touching the tourmaline rock. I don't even know if tourmaline is a rock, but
it's a stone. Yeah, it's a rock.
Yeah, so they grind it up and put it in there, huh? And so I think Robert had explained to me how it was in the fibers of the bristles when it was in a liquid state. And so it's in it. You can't wear it off. As the bristle gets worn down or skinnier, it's still there. And that was fascinating to me. And then the thing that really changed my life was getting a pool. When I got a pool and I started dealing with the chemicals in the pool, and I'm going swimming or in the hot tub and my hair is feeling different on different days, I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy what chemicals can make your hair feel like. And I was always, the thing that messed me up is I never liked the words repair in the hair world, because I always thought like, well, it's dead. Okay. I don't feel that, right? Hair is dead. So once it's past a certain point of whatever, there's no changing it. But when I would go swimming and I'd feel the roughness, and then that roughness from the chlorine or lack of chlorine or too much chlorine or the wrong pH balance in the pool, then a few days later, it's better. And I'm like, how can the feel of my hair, it's dead? What is changing this? Is it a buildup? It could be no buildup but feel different, because a pH level would have my cuticle blown open or shut real tight. And so I can see how because I'm not a believer. Actually, when one of the color companies finally came out years ago, and they said that the only repair after a certain amount of damage was scissors. I was like, yes, finally, a color company that admits that there is a point of no return and you just have to cut it off and start over again.
We did a video it's been a while. We did one restoring versus repairing hair.
Right.
What can you do, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder if it would be fun to revisit that. I don't know.
Not for me. But we could maybe link to it right there, or
we could link to it though. Yeah, that was a fun one. All right, so that's paddle brushes. Now let's go to round brushes, because that's what the majority of the people they use. And round brushes come in so many different forms, so many different sizes. So we're going to be talking under the pretense of, you've got short hair, you've got medium length hair, you've got long hair, you've got thin, fine hair, you've got a normal amount, you've got thick, coarse, right? You've got colored, you don't, you've got hair extensions, you don't, you've got hair replacement system, or you don't, either way. But all the sizes of a round brush matter, and the way you approach the technique of round brushing does make a difference. So the first thing I want to laugh at and get out of the way is the brushes that are attached to the blow dryer.
Wait. Let's go back further. Let's go back further when round brushes, they came out and people were like, don't use those. You'll never get it out of your hair. Because the original round brush, I think it was just two pieces of wire with some bristles laying on them, and then they twisted it, right? You had this twisted wire in the middle that made the brush fan and flare all the way around, but it was such a skinny wired base in there with the bristles making the majority of the brush. So when you put it on your hair, it didn't matter how big the brush was, because the hair went around the wire way down in there, and then it was stuck forever. And a lot of people were having to cut these things out of their head. It was hard to get them out. And so round brushes were taboo for a long time. Then they somehow figured out how to push those bristles into wooden brushes, right? Wooden round brushes. And it's okay.
Wooden round brushes, and then they started adding barrels. Then they started what we know as now the barrels, you know.
Well, that was the biggest advancement or move forward in the round brush, in my opinion. Whether the barrel had holes in it or not, it went for, I think it was still that wire twist in the middle, but then they expanded the center with a hard size. So now you had a specific curl, you know. Before it was just so skinny in the middle, it didn't matter how big or small the bristles were, because the hair would sink down into the bristles. If you try to keep it light on the outside, you get a bigger curl. If you pushed it deeper in the middle, you get a smaller curl. But when you had the wood brush, you blocked the airflow through the brush. That's what I ended up liking about the barrels with the holes in it. You can be heating on this side. The barrel is getting warm, acting like a hot roller, but it's also, the air is also going through the holes onto the other side. You're drying both sides all the way. Almost becomes like a diffuser, right? Because the air is going inside the brush and coming out of all the holes. And so you're drying more efficiently. Because with the wooden one, you had a lot of bounce off. It was bouncing off. A lot of your heat is bouncing off or just getting deflected. Now you're going into it and being so much. So I do love, like you're saying, the science, the technology behind the round brush has come a long way.
Because in the beginning too, the original barrels were metal and they would overheat. Like you'd get hot spot because you'd be blow drying the one side. The heat wouldn't be getting through enough to the other side. So one side of the brush was super hot. The other side was warm-ish.
That's what grew hairdressers up like me with these Popeye forearms, because we were to move that heat around. We were like turning and turning and turning and building these forearms up. And you just it'd have one big forearm on the left where you did a lot of this, and you kept that heat moving. And so you learn how to use the heat in the places you needed it. But you're right. Later, I would see people just rolling it up and just heating it and then holding it. And I'm like, oh, you got to move that thing. And they're like, no, it's not the same kind of metal anymore. The heat's getting moved through the metal. Even if heating in one spot, it would transfer and spread and diffuse. And it was nice, but it takes a while when you're used to I still move a lot because I'm like, I'm not burning the hair. I'm not going to keep it in one place.
I love it when I teach a blow dry class because that's what I got. They're the ceramic coatings on the barrels now, so you don't have to move it anymore. And I love rolling in a round brush, locking it in, and just sitting there. And I'm blow drying, and I'm still doing the class while I'm sitting there. And I just love looking at everybody's faces. And they're all sitting there staring at the round brush.
It's going to fall off. Well, then the other side of that technology is, this is the secret that most people don't know about how heat and curl and smoothing works. It's almost like a perm. The waving lotion breaks down the hair. The neutralizer locks in the curl, right? Well, same thing, similar with heat and cold. The heat is what breaks down the hair, and the cooling. So that's why people are like, how can heat curl hair and straighten hair? Well, it's not the heat that's curling or straightening the hair. The heat is making that hair malleable. And then whatever shape it cools in, it stays until humidity hits it and it starts to change again. That's why curly haired girls can't get caught in the rain after flat ironing their hair. They're like, that rain just brings it right back to what it was. When it's wet, it'll do anything. As you're drying it and you're heating it up and you're pulling it around a round brush, a straight flat paddle brush. That's why hot rollers, you put them in, the hair heats up and you leave them in for a little while. And what are you waiting for? You're waiting for a short window of time where the heat is breaking down the hair, making it lock around that roller. And then the cooling is what actually keeps it there. And that's why if you curl out hair with a curling iron and then you just pull it out, and some people get more curls, some get less, and people can't understand why. Well, when you curled it around that curling iron, you'll see some people put their hand on the iron and slide it out, like open that and hold the curl for a minute, because it's the cooling. Now, this is disgusting and unsanitary, but you'll see some people blow. I'm like, don't blow on the client. But you'll see them trying to cool the curl. And it works. It works. It cools the hair off, but you shouldn't really be blowing on your clients in this day and age. But that's the whole purpose around a cold shot or cool shot on a blow dryer, is you heat it up around the round brush. You got it hot. Then you put the cold shot on it and you cool it down. That's what locks that curl in. I don't think many stylists really get the point of the cooling part of it. So when you curl an iron and you pull an iron out and there is some curl, people wonder, well, how did you get some curl? Because the ambient temperature in the room is cooler than the iron. So as soon as you take the iron off, before that curl even falls completely straight, as it's falling, it's cooling, and it's like, oh, we'll stay right here. We're cool. But technically, if you curl and ironed it and you pull it out and you pull that hair straight and just hold it real straight at the ends and let it cool, you just almost flat ironed hair. You'd get flat and smooth hair, just to prove a point. It's the heat that breaks it down. That's my point.
It's fun as hell. So in class, I'll bring a couple of toys, or I'll bring a couple of demonstration stuff for fun. Mm-hmm. I bring a steamer and I'll bring I'll roll up a t-shirt on purpose to make sure it's really wrinkly and messed up. So, and I'll bring a handheld steamer, and I'll let stylists play with that a little bit, just to see how the hair is like your fabric, like your clothes. and it's susceptible to heat like you're explaining, So that's a nice visual. Another thing that I like to do is just getting a little handheld, from the arts and crafts store, just get a little handheld hot glue gun. Yeah. It doesn't overheat too much. You're not going to burn yourself with it, but it's a nice demonstration to show in real time that if I take a stick of glue and I start heating it up and I let it go and I let it just start dripping off, it's going to start ending as it cools, as it's going to start ending, and how it strings out and how it beads up at the bottom because it's all collecting down there, And it's a nice visual to show. It's really fun, and it's a nice visual to show. The other thing I do is I got a couple of sheets of fabric, like denim, silk, satin, regular cotton, and I just pour a cup of water onto it just so they can see how the moisture spreads across the surface and how far it absorbs across each one of the fabrics. And the purpose of that is to show on thinner hair, on more damaged hair, on softer hair, more gentile hair, how much heat spreads across, how much moisture is spreading across, how much surface you're covering without doing much in comparison to a thicker, coarser hair or a healthier hair. How much more you got to do.
The same amount of hair will make a smaller water circle on a pair of jeans or denim because it's thicker, right? That's interesting, right? And a thinner silk or satin, it's going to just spread way out with the same amount of water. That's it. Yeah, that's good.
So like when you go to pull on it, you go like this to denim all day long. It ain't going anywhere. You go like this to satin or silk, it's going to tear. Cashmere is a little more strength in it, but that's eventually going to tear too if you do too much.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good object lesson.
These things, you got to think about that. We know this innately about our clothes. We don't think about it when it comes to our hair.
Being different right.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, everybody's good at building up the volume and heating up the hair really, really good. And everybody's good at making, the nice shape and the C curve and everything else. And then they just pull it out. They just pull the brush out immediately. They let the whole thing drop.
Ball. Yep.
And it just falls apart and it ruins everything. And then you've got backcombing, you've got teasing, you've got root boost, you've got
right. Cooling is the first natural help in getting that style in. You're right. The products do a lot.
It's a lot, but they're all Band-Aid fixes. The volume comes from the beginning when you're heating it up and letting it cool down. Now, with that said, how many revolutions, how many turns does the hair wrap around the round brush? Then the round brush is the right size versus a too small versus a too big.
Are you going to say 1.5 or 2.5? 1.5?
1.5, yeah.
1.5. I mean, again, that's not a definite either, right? I mean, if you're just trying to,
Yeah, it's definite. Why would it not be?
Well, because if you've got I don't know. Sometimes you're just trying to get a half circle, a half bend, just getting hair just to bend under. Then
let's say for proper tension and smoothing purposes. Let's say it that way.
And the reason for the 1.5 is because when you get to 1, it could still slide out. You're trying to get that other half so that the hair touches the other hair and locks in so you can get some tension on the hair. It's funny. I got a friend who still can't get it. When we go camping, a lot of our stuff is tied down with ratchet straps. And when you ratchet that strap, that the strap is supposed to go around the center part at least 2 times, which is just slightly over 1 because the strap has to touch the strap. A lot of people pull that strap tight, then start ratcheting. It gets around about 1/2 or 3/4 of a turn, and it feels like it's tight, but then it's going to slip because it's not all the way around touching itself. And then some people start way too loose and it spins around there so many times it gets so big it doesn't fit inside the ratchet strap. So I find it interesting when I'm doing it. I'm like, this just reminds me of round brushing hair. I just get a ratchet strap from doing hair, and friends of mine don't get either one because they just don't get the ratchet strap and they don't do hair. They
don't do hair, right?
Yeah.
It's wild, but
It's similar in wrapping perms, right? If you're going to get a curl out of a perm,
yeah.
you can't get the rod to stay in the hair if it's one turn or less. It just falls out. So you need that 1.5 to more spins around the rod for it to even hold, to be able to go through the rinsing processes and all to start with.
Another thing that I realize when I'm watching people round brush, they'll center all the hair on the barrel, and then they'll start wrapping it and wrapping it and wrapping it, and it just balls up and bunches up right there. If your barrel is this wide, use the entire surface. Why are you so focused on the center?
That would be a good question. How wide of section should you be working on the hair? Because some people are using too wide of a section, and the hair is going, the barrel is only this big, and as they brush and the hair is falling off the ends onto the handle and off the outside, and they can't figure out why. Well, their section's too wide, and then yours started with too skinny. So I think a section should be about the size of the brush or a little smaller, so it stays on the brush. Because if it's smaller, as you brush, it's going to flare out and dry faster. So smaller than the brush is probably better for efficiency and speed. And like you said, let it spread on the brush so that you can work with more of that hair. Now, as a little trick I've learned is when you've got hair over a brush like this, and it is starting to spread too far and you're trying to get it back on the brush, if you turn, as you pull out, if you turn your brush, it skinnies up the section. And then when you grab it with your fingers or your tool, then you can put the brush back in there and it's back on the brush. That's some of the things you just learn through experience and time. And I watch people brushing hair and I'm like, God, if they would just turn either way, right? When you turn it like that, the distance from here to here just gets smaller. So it pulls the hair together so that you can start again without losing control. And that's when you can cheat a too big of a section on a brush, when you get really good and if somebody has finer, thinner hair and you took thinner section and you needed to, well, now you can use bigger than the brush, but it's hard to keep it on the brush. And that's when you have to learn those little tricks to be like, oh God, I got to fix this on the fly, but I'm going to adjust on the next section because I shouldn't be doing it like this kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the girls the girls at the salon are always laughing at me, but one in particular last week, she goes, every time you're blow drying hair, you take it from straight up, like you pull all their hair straight up, you roll the brush down. Even if you're trying to smooth the hair out, you always start with rolling the brush straight up off their head. Why don't you just come in from underneath like a normal human being? Why are you always doing this over extra thing on top? I'm like, I'm always trying to go full off base to maximize my volume. She's like, but they want smooth hair. Like, even when somebody wants smooth hair, they want a little bit of movement. Nobody nowadays truly, truly wants stick, straight, flat hair. And if you do, that's okay and that's fine. But 9 times out of 10, whenever somebody has asked me to do it and I've done it, it's so smooth, it's so flat. And they're doing this. They're trying to push their hair up a little bit. And I'm going, oh, for the love of God. It's way easier to flatten the hair out than it is to build volume back in when it's set.
That's true. After you've done it flat, it's hard to get it back full.
It's hard to get it back full. Yeah. So I always start off base, and the stylists are always telling me to start on base or half base or something like that. So the difference between coming in at a bottom angle, coming in straight on, or coming in from overhead is huge. And so many times I'll see a stylist come in from underneath, like she's talking about in particular. She'll come in underneath and then she'll start pulling the hair out straight out. And she's not getting the volume. And then I'll even see her try to over direct slightly. So she's going up anyways. And then she ends up pulling everything down. Or she'll get it all out. She'll pull it all out and you'll have like this nice shape coming through. And then she runs her fingers through her hair, or she'll brush it straight down before she goes to grab the next section. I'm going, what is going on here? What is happening?
My favorite. So
that's my question to you is, do you know what am I talking about? Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But my favorite is watching people blow dry hair, and they're using a brush and they put a little bit of air on the hair and then they're blowing way off the hair, a little on the hair, mostly off the hair. And I'd say 80% of the heat is just blowing their chest, their stomach, their arms, barely getting the hair. and they're trying to avoid frizz and blowing it all over the place because they have so much air coming out and they don't know how to control it or get it to blow the hair where they need it. They're just barely touching the hair with it, and they barely. And so learning how to get all of the air, all of the heat on the hair more often just speeds up the whole process. That's what I try to help people understand. And yeah, a lot of what you're talking about could also be done in the pre-dry, right? By the over direction of the getting the majority of the moisture out with the towel first, but then with a blow dryer blowing, if you know you're going to be styling this way and you want this, then blow it that way on the top of the head to get that scalp hair going, so that when you come back this way, you get fullness. Same thing in here, right? I mean, I know in the old days, I don't know if it's as proper, but you could get somebody just to lean over, throw that head upside down, and just lean over on the chair and throw the hair forward. Sometimes that feels good for a minute to just get down like this and just blow all that hair upside down. That'll help you get a lot of fullness really fast also. And it's something that they can do at home later, that you can be in the middle of a teaching process so that they can get that fullness and then let the hair come back down and start doing some finer tuned styling. This went faster than I expected. I feel like we just started talking about brushes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't even checking.
Did you have any more questions listed? I don't want to miss any. Because I think I got a 99 right now.
Yeah, you did really good. You did really good. No, I love what you're mentioning about using the head shape, because that's really the best round brush ever, is going against the opposite direction of the part. It's so easy to do at home. So easy to do at home, you know? And another trick at home too, if it's hard for you, because you get fatigue and it's not easy to pull your arm straight up to get that volume, just tilt your head over to the side and blow it out that way. It's easier to go out to the side than it is to go straight up off your head, So yeah, all of the above, all of that works. I'd love to hear some of y'all responses.
Clicking the bell and liking and commenting. Is that what you were going to say?
Oh, I wanted to know about who's using natural bristles and boar bristles versus, vent brushes and nylon bristle brushes.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some opinions on that too. But yeah, do all that other good stuff, the YouTube stuff, help us grow.
Press all the buttons. That's what a friend of mine on YouTube just said recently. He's like, could you just press all the buttons?
All the buttons.
Allegedly, it helps our channel. Allegedly.
Paste roll across the keyboard.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week. Stay profitable.
Profitable. Yeah.
Profitable.